Hello and welcome to this session on REST Assured Beginner tutorial. This is part 2 of this session. In part 1 we started with REST Assured. We looked at what is REST Assured, what are its uses and features. We also looked at what are the prerequisites to create a REST Assured project, and then we created the first API testing project with REST Assured. So I hope you have seen that session, and now in this session we will learn how to create requests and tests for different HTTP methods like get, post, put, patch and delete. So we are going to go very basic step by step. I will start from scratch, so do not worry if you have no prior knowledge on how to create tests on these HTTP methods using REST Assured. So let's get started, and I have created a project on my Windows system on Eclipse in the last session. So I will open my Eclipse and you can see this is the project we created, the REST Assured project here. So we are going to continue on this project. Now if I open this project, I will expand the project and you can see we had created a class under src test java test01 underscore get. Now I will create a new class under the same package. I will do a right click on the package and go to new and select class, and here I will give the name for the class. So I will say this is tests underscore get. You can give it any name and I will say finish. So we have this class created. Let me expand this so that you can see this clearly, and I am increasing the font by pressing Ctrl and plus key on my keyboard. So now under this class I will create a function. I will say public void and I will name this test underscore 1, and this is the function. And to make it as a testng test, I will give the annotation at test, and I will hover over this red line and import from testng org testng dot annotations. So make sure that you import from testng and you can see the import here. So I have my function created, and let me very quickly create a get test here. So in this session I am going to use some public APIs, and in the next session I will show you how to create your own local APIs for testing. So if I go to Google and search for REST API for testing, and here we have lots of public APIs that we can use for testing. I am going on this site raqres.in, and here you can see they have some fake REST APIs for testing. This is what we used in our last session as well, and here we have get, post, put, patch, delete, all these HTTP APIs. So if I go to the first get API and click on this endpoint, open it in a new tab. So this is the URL or the endpoint of this API, and this is how the response should look like. So in this session I am going to use these public APIs, but in the next session I will also show you how you can create a local server and create your own APIs for testing. So here I will say given and dot, and you can see it is throwing an error because we have not yet imported the REST assured library. So I will say import, and I will do a static import so that we can directly use a given method instead of creating a class or an object first. So I will say import static io dot rest assured and dot rest assured class, and I will say dot star to import everything under this class and a semicolon. So now this should be fine. I will say given dot and I will say get, and under get I will give the URL or the endpoint, which is this endpoint of the API. I'll copy this and provide it here, and then I will say after get. So this is a simple get request. I do not have to do anything else. I will also show you how you can pass headers or parameters later, but for this I will just say then and after then I want to check the status code, so I will say status code should be 200, and I can put this in a new line for easy visibility, or you can put everything in the single line, that will also work. And that's it. So a very simple get request where we are sending this get URL and then checking status code is 200. I will do a right click and say run as testng test, and here let us see the output. So everything is passed. You can see we have got a pass here, and in the console as well it says it is pass. So this is running fine. Now I can also log the details, so I can say dot, and let me go to the next line. I will say log, and if I press Control spacebar on my keyboard, it is auto completing log and all. So this will also log the response on the console itself. So if I run this now, I can now directly use the run button here, and if I check the console, you can see in the console it is printing the entire response along with all the details. So you can see the HTTP headers, content type, everything is here, and time and everything, all the headers that we have got in the response, and this entire response is here as it is. So this will be very handy if you want to check how did you receive the response from the server. You can use this option. Also, we had seen in the last session we can also verify something in the body. So I can say here body, and let us say in this response I want to check that at this particular position ID is 8. So we have this response and we have this data array. Under this array we have these elements, and I want to check at this particular location the ID value is 8. So I can say I will have to give the path here, or the JSON path. I will say data dot id, and in this square bracket I will give the index position. So index position starts from 0. So this particular ID is at index position 0. This is at 0 and this is at index position 1. So I will say at index position 1 it should be equal to, and I will give the value here, that is 8. So this is what I'm checking, and here equal to, for equal to we have to add the matchers. Let me check from the last class. So here we had added these matchers. Let me also copy this import, which is from org.hemcrash.matchers, and I will put this in the import statement here, and now the error is gone. So this is running fine. I will run this again and check. So this will also check this particular value 8, and you can see everything is pass. So you can do like this, all these options will work. Then I can also say here, let me remove the log. You can keep the log statement as well. I will say here body, and let us say I want to check the first names. So we have first name here and here, so we have multiple first names. Let us say I want to check the values, so I can say body, and I will give the JSON path, that is data dot first name, and I will say has items. Now you can also see this has items is coming from the matcher, so you have to import this matchers, and I will say here I can put these elements, that is in the first name we have Michael, Lindsay, Tobias, all this I can put here. So I will say first name should contain all these values, Michael, and I will give a comma, and I can say Lindsay, and so on. So this is also you can do. So here I am checking that in this response under data we can have multiple first names, and in the first name we should have all these values should be present. So if I run this now, let us see the output, and this is pass. You can see here everything is running fine. So this is also how you can validate the response and different ways of validating the response. Now the API I am using, this is a very simple public APIs which does not need any headers or different parameters. But in your case, if you have to provide headers and different parameters, you can always provide under given. You can say header, and you can give the key value. So here I can say whatever is the key and then the value I can use like this. For example, I can say content type, and I can say application JSON here, and so on. And even if there are any parameters that has to be added, I can do that as well. I can say params. So you can say param, and then you can give the key value pair as well here. So all this will work. So as per your requirement you can do that. In this case it was a very simple get API request. So this is how you can do that. You can try some more examples yourself. Now let me show you some post requests. So I will create a new class. So I will go to my package, do a right click, go to new and create a class, and I will name this as tests underscore post and finish. Now here I will again create a function. I will say public void, and I will say this is test1 for post, and this is the function. And to make it as a test-ng test, I will give the annotation at test here, and I will just import this from test-ng. Let me import this first. Okay, so this is done. Now in case of post, until now we have done a very simple get request where we just had to pass the endpoint or the URL of the API. Now if I go to any post example, you can see we also need to pass the body. So if I go to this example here, this which is for creation. So post is usually used for creating a resource on the server, and therefore we have to provide a body as well. Now in this case we have to create a JSON body. So for that what you can do is you can either create a map and then convert it into a JSON object, or you can directly use some JSON libraries. So here we have some options. You can use some JSON libraries like we have JSON, we have JSON. So this is one JSON library. Let me just give the names here. Then we have JSON. Then we have, there's a library called JSON as well, that will also work. And then we have simple JSON. All this will work. So I will show you all this. Let me just create first a map to create the body. So I can say, now you can directly create without using a map. I will show you that as well. I will say map, and this is string and object. So map is a key value pair in Java. I will show you in a moment how to do that. So I am saying create a map for string and objects, where key will be a string and value can be an object, because value can be any data type. And I will name this as map equals new hash map. So I'm creating a hash map in Java, and I have to import it. So if I hover over it, I will import from java.util, and now I will say Okay, so with this statement I have created a map in Java, and you can see I have imported from Java util map and Java util hash map, and now map is a key value pair, so I can use this variable that I have created map here, and I can directly say dot put, and I can give the key and the values here. So if you see here, we have this name equals whatever name we want to pass, and job and the job name here. So the same thing I will do here. I will say name, and I can pass the value for the name. Let us say I pass the name Raghav here and a semicolon. Again I will say map dot put, and again I will pass the second information. I will say put, and I will say job, and I will give the value here, and that's it. So I created a map. Now if I print out this map using system.out.println, and I have shown you the shortcut. If you say SYSO and then press Ctrl spacebar on your keyboard, it will autocomplete. And if I will print the map, let us see. I will run this. Let me run as a test ng test, and if I go to the console, you can see it is printing this map name Raghav job teacher. However, if you see, this is not a JSON. The JSON should look like this, where we have all these strings under double quotes. Now I can make this as well. I can put a double quote here. I can use a escape character and put a double quote like this. So if I do like this and now run this, you can see here now the name has come under double quotes. So this may work, but still we want to create a proper JSON object. So for that we need some JSON library, and let me show you. If I go to Maven Central repository, from where we can add Maven dependencies, we have seen this in the last session as well. And if I go and search for JSON, you can see this is from Google, and this is a library which can be used for JSON. So here you can see we can get this dependency, or we can also get JSON. This will also work. So you can see this is a JSON is this one. JSON is a high performance JSON parser and generator. You can get this one, or there is also JSON. JSON is here, so you can get this one as well, JSON. Or there is another very popular library, JSON simple. So here this is again from com.google code, and this is json.simple, and you can get this as well. So let me show you with this. I will just copy the dependency from here, and I will go in my pom.xml. This is the pom.xml, and you can see the earlier dependencies. So we did this in the last session. I will just paste it here, and I can remove the comments and save. As soon as you will save, you will have the libraries added in your project, and I will say Control A and press Control I for indentation, and now this is done. So I will go back to my class. Now to convert this into a JSON object, I just have to say, I will say JSON object, and if I press Control spacebar, you can see I can get it from JSON simple or .json.simple. So let me just say JSON object here, and if I hover over this, it is asking me to, it should ask me to import. So let me just check. I will say JSON object, and let me say request equals to new JSON object. So you can see it has imported from org json.simple simple JSON object. Now I can just pass my map here, so I can copy this map and pass it here. And now if I print the request, which is this one, you will see the difference. I will print out the request now and I will run this, and here you can see this was my initial map, and after converting it to JSON object, this is how it looks like. So this is what I can pass in the body of a post request. Now sometimes this will also throw some error, that is the serialization is not happening for your JSON. So for that you can say request or whatever is your JSON body is in your variable, and you can here say to JSON string. And now if I run this, so you can see, although this looks same, this and this after converting to dot to JSON string, however this should always be fine. So you can use like this, or if you are using some JSON library, you can directly put your request without using the map. So let me show you. For example, I can say, let me not add the map here. I can directly say here, I have created this request. I can directly say request dot put, and we can put a key and value, and this I can put directly here. I will put the key value in the JSON object. Similarly, I will again say request dot, and I will again add the second line here. So now you can see I do not need this map. Even if I comment this out, I pressed Control and / to comment everything, and this as well, and you can see if I run this now, I will still have this request present. So if I run this, and you can see we have got our post request created. So you can use anyways, you can put in a map and then convert to a JSON object, or you can directly create a JSON object and put your data like this. Now we have our post body created. So we have our body created, which is this one. Now we have to run this or test this. So I will say given, and again I have to import the rest assured libraries. So I will do a static import. I will say import static io dot rest assured dot rest assured class and dot star and semicolon. So I will say given, and then I will say I can say here body, and the body is this request. So I will say request, and I will also say to JSON string, just to be sure that this converts into a JSON string, and then I will say dot, and I can now directly send a post. So I will say when, and I will say post, and here I have to give the endpoint. So the endpoint is, if I go here and click on this endpoint, this is my endpoint. So I'll copy this here, and I can also say then, and I can check status code should be 200. Now when we create a resource, status code should be 201. If you go and check for HTTP status codes, so let me very quickly show you. Let me go here and show you. So if you check the status codes, so all the 100s are for information, 200s are successful, 300s codes are for redirection. If you get any 400s, that is client error, and 500s are server error. And here if you see the details, 200 is for OK and 201 is for created. So whenever you run a post, most probably you should get 201 for a successful creation. So let me just keep 200 and see, it should fail. And that's it. I will save this and run this as a test-ng test. And let us see the output. So this has failed, and if I look here, you can see it expected 200, but it got 201, which is actually correct. So I will just change it here. I will say 201 and I will run this again, and this should pass. So this is now working fine. Now this was a very simple request, post request, where we do not have any headers, etc. However, mostly you should have some headers, so you can always give headers here. I can say header, and you can give the key value here. For example, I can say here I will use the headers, and I will say you can have something like content type, and the value can be application JSON. Then I can also directly say content type, and I can say this is content type dot JSON. So I can directly use like this, and I can also say that it should accept content type. So whatever response I will get, I need to accept only the JSON. So I can say content type accept content type dot JSON. So this is also I can say like this. So based on your requirement, you can add the headers and whatever you need, all this will work fine. If I run this again, this should also work fine, and you can see everything is working fine. So this was a simple post request. You can see some more examples. Now let me create a put request. If I go back to this REQRES website, we have put is for updating a resource, and here again we have a body. So I will just copy this. Now ideally I should be creating a new file or a new class, but let me just do it here for now. So I'll copy this function and paste it again, and I will comment out the test annotation from first function so that it does not run. And this I will say is the function name is test2 underscore put, and I will remove all this. Now input as well, we need a body, and if I look at the body, it is looking as the same body, name and job, which we already have here. So I will keep all this as it is, and I can keep in fact everything as it is. I just have to say, instead of post, I will say put here and give the URL. So let me see what is the URL or the endpoint, and looks like the URL is also, yeah, URL is different. I will copy the URL or the endpoint and provide it here, and that's it. And here I should check the status code is 200, so I will change the status code, and rest of the things are as it is. I will run and check. I will run this, and let us see the result. And yes, everything is passed. It is able to run this. Also, to verify, I can log the response. So I can say log dot all, as we have seen earlier, and this should also give me the response. So this will have the response printed on the console. If I run this, you can see here it is giving us the response here. So we have got the response here. We are seeing updated at this particular time. So this is working fine. This is how you can use a put. Let me see a patch request here. So this is patch. Patch is also for update, and here also we have a similar content. So I will copy this function again, and this project I am going to put on GitHub at the end. So do not worry, you will get the entire project. So here I will say this is test3 for patch, and again we have the same data. So I will keep everything as it is. I will change put to patch here, and let me see the endpoint. I will click here and see what is the endpoint. So this is the endpoint. I will copy this. Looks similar, and that's it. So I am doing a patch here, and if I save and run now, let us see the output. So this is pass, and if I see the console, and here we have got this, it got updated at this particular time. So that means this is working fine. So now this is working fine. Let me also see a delete request. Here we have a delete request, and for delete we just have the endpoint of the resource and nothing else. So for delete I will just copy this first, and then I will make the changes. I will copy this function, and here I will say this is test4 for delete, and I do not need any body, so let me delete everything. And here I also do not need anything from here. I can just say when delete, or I can also use given here, that is all fine, and I have to use the endpoint. So let me check the endpoint of delete. So this is delete, and this is the endpoint. I'll copy this, paste it here, and then I'm just saying when I delete this particular resource, then I should see status code 200, and actually this should be 204, which is for successful deletion. So if you see here, status code 204 is for no content, and this is when we do a delete. And you can also see the same thing here. This is 204 is for deletion or no content. So this is what we should get. So let me just keep 200 here, and let us see, this should fail. So I will save and run. So here it has failed because it expected 204, which is fine. And if I go to the console, and here you can see this has failed, and we do not have any body as well. So let me change this to 204 and run this again, and now this should pass. So we have pass here, and if I go to the console, we can see this is the header, but we do not have any body of the response. So we have seen all these examples for get, post, put, patch, and delete. Now this was a very simple example. In the next session we will create our own APIs, and we will do these operations there. I hope this was useful. Let me know what you liked in this session in the comment section. Also, if you think there is something to be improved, let me know in the comment section, and I will improve that. I hope this all was very useful. Do share your knowledge with everyone, and thank you for watching.